Hello and welcome back. So a while ago, if you remember, we did have these developer messages that were kind of teasing something that they will do in the future, and in the end it turned out that it was a new faction. And that new faction so far is released. We have a destroyer and a cruiser. At the moment, we did get access to the destroyers. The developers have given them to us. This is the prototype of that destroyer, and so far, at the moment, this is the highest DPS ship in the game. I'll start with the ship details. Now, this is a destroyer. It is rather looking really interesting. Its design choice is something that I like. It is 233 meters long. It is rather long for a destroyer, and its design choice is also really unique for this faction. And so far, I don't mind it. I like this exotic weird design, and so far, definitely one of the more prettier ships in the game. It's definitely something that you will. It's something that you will notice flying around, since it has this odd shape, but it does look really interesting for what it is. Now, its roll bonus is 15% small decomposer optimal range, 80% small decomposer damage, +1 warp stability, advanced small decomposer upgrade bonus per level, 5% small decomposer damage, 5% small decomposer optimal range, 10% status Webifer optimal range, and pretty much so far good bonuses. This is a faction destroyer, by the way, so it is a bit more powerful than the ordinary destroyer, although at the moment this ship is overpowered and pretty much is kind of broken, since it can deal 1000 it can have 1000 DPS without much of a problem. Advanced destroyer command bonus per level, 5% shield, 10% warp speed. Pretty good bonuses so far. Definitely it is a faction destroyer, so obviously it will have slightly higher bonuses, and it is already really lethal, and it is one of the highest DPS in the game. Might very well be the highest DPS in the game. Its cargo hold 800 meters cubic meters. Its overall HP 8412. Its shield, armor, and hull are also interesting. The resistances are pretty much the same for majority of ships. It has a lot of shield and a lot of structure, while it has not so much armor. So either shield tanks or hull tanks are going to work on this ship. And in my case, I like to either go shield tank or full DPS. But you can take advantage of the shield pool and the structure pool for both tanks. I've seen people use shield tanks for this ship. Of course, if you go for PvP, you can go for hull tank, since you have already a lot of hull. But for this ship, it will not matter much, since that hull will be destroyed in like 1.5 cycle, because this ship can do so much damage. Overall, its capacitor is 1018 gigajoules, pretty decent so far. Flight velocity 243 meters per second. I use a micro warp drive. It is almost as fast, if not faster, than my Talvar. It is 82.6 meters. Its signature radius is 82.6 meters, so it's rather a large target, and definitely easy to lock and will be easy to shoot at least from my personal experience, since I did engage a couple of these ships already. Okay, let's see. My fits. I have 400 DPS pure because of my skills. I am still skilling, and I'm still going for the full skills for this ship. And by the end of the day, I think I'll get 600 or 700 DPS. It depends. Its main weapons are the decomposers, which I am currently using. They do 810 damage per hit per cycle, and that is a really good amount of damage. It is, well, it can melt most frigates and most destroyers in one cycle. Even cruisers aren't safe from this thing. It will also melt cruisers really quickly. For the medium slots, I did put 2 Webifers and 1 Warp Disruptor. It has a bonus on Webifers, optimal range bonus. I'll definitely take advantage of that. And of course, I'll use a Warp Disruptor for PvP purposes. For the low slots, I do have the specific enhancers for the decomposers, as well as a capacitor battery and as well as a micro warp drive. The capacitor battery is kind of unnecessary, but I like to have it because of cap stability, and in case if you encounter someone that has a neutralizer or if he has a Nosferatu, you will definitely want to have a battery. As you can see, the stats for the weapon are good. They shoot at 5 seconds, and they do 810 damage per cycle. They are overpowered. That is something that is a fact, and they will probably be nerfed into the future and of course into the release, since this is a beta test and beta tests are here to test stuff, so that's a normal thing. This thing is also really good for fleets, since you can equip one recharger or one remote shield repairer or armor repairer for fleet purposes. It is definitely a good ship for fleets, since it has that much of a ridiculous damage. A wolfpack, a fleet of these ships, are going to easily take out cruisers and of course battle cruisers and battleships. I don't know about carriers and super carriers, but I guess we'll see that into the future when they get released. As for the, like I said, low slots, you can also change it into a shield booster. You can make it be a tanky ship, of course. You can go for full tank or full DPS or balanced. I did go for full DPS, of course, because, well, I want to take advantage of that crazy DPS that this ship has to offer. Pretty much kill them before they kill you. Alright, well, I think it's time to jump in and to play around with this ship, since it is at the moment really unique, and I think it will be really interesting to see how it will perform. Really good ship for PvP, really good ship for PvE. You can use this ship for everything that you want. It is not a big problem at all. It has ridiculous high DPS. You can melt literally other destroyers with it, and frigates alike. And currently everyone is flying this ship. So if you're looking for PvP at the moment, well, I wouldn't advise that you go out and do that, because you will probably stumble upon these ships and they will melt you in seconds. They can melt each other in seconds as well, so pretty much it is who gets the first shot off. The first who shoots will usually win. And for writing, so far I did have zero problems. You can also go in higher tier anomalies and do this. I did go in high tier anomalies, but they were empty. They were pretty much cleared, and I did try to find high tier anomalies, level 7, 8, 9, but unfortunately all of them are picked clean and there is nothing left. And I usually played 5, 6, and 7s, but recently there's just none of them around. Everyone did already clear them. So this is just what I found. And of course, everyone is doing PvP at the moment because of the sheer brutal DPS of this ship. It is really easy to get it at 1k DPS, which is ridiculous. It is just the prototype, by the way. It is not the full the ship that is. It is not the full faction destroyer. It is the prototype of it. I mean, in a way, you can call it that it is a faction destroyer, since it is. But it is the prototype version of this destroyer. The other one is, I think, a little bit more lethal. It has slightly higher bonuses. And the cruiser is also currently unavailable. I think we will get the cruiser as well. And I'm really curious to see the DPS on that thing. I think the cruiser will have around maybe above 2000 DPS. And that is scary, and that requires some serious nerfing. It reminds me of the similar, not to say the same situation that we had with the worms. If you remember the worms, the drones in the first beta were overpowered, and everyone was flying worms. And in this case, everyone is flying this destroyer. And again, I'm flying it as well, since I am really looking forward to test its performance out. And so far, I am melting these rats. Like, it does so much damage, and you can melt higher and bigger ships easily with this thing. You can even fight cruisers and I think battle cruisers with this thing with the proper DPS. If you get too close to them, you can melt them, since this ship is really ridiculous, and it's also very fast. It has around the same speed as my Talvar, and my Talvar has a bonus on my warp drives. I did fit with 2 Webifers because of that optimal range and that warp disruptor. It is PvP ready, although it is also a quite expensive ship. I think 70 million APs, I think these ships are worth 70 million per piece. I'm not quite sure, since I did saw some kills and they were 76 million in worth. And I'm definitely not losing this ship. I'm not planning on losing this thing, so doing PvP with this maybe during the end, in the finale, because why not? But at the moment, I think I will not do PvP with it. Maybe if I stumble upon someone, then I will do it. I will also show you something in the end, something that I did catch, and definitely do not engage this ship in PvP, because if you're alone, like if you don't have this ship, or if you're flying something else, and if you stumble upon this thing, disengage, don't shoot it, because most of them are going to have 1000 DPS and they will melt you in one cycle. I think I can melt a decently built destroyer in one cycle, pretty much. And yeah, that's kind of, it is really overpowered and it will be nerfed. I really hope that it will be nerfed, and that will be. Besides that, I think this ship is really interesting to fly, and I like the idea behind it. It is similar to the Triglavians in online, but we will also get Triglavians here at one point, which I am looking forward to. But at the moment, we did get this new faction, and so far I do enjoy ships that faction has to offer. I do like the fact that this ship has this really odd design. And when I'm already speaking about design, the weapons cannot be grouped. You can use them in this current form as they are. I don't know why you can't group them, but maybe because they're single shot weapons. I don't know, but you can't group them, and they have to be separated. And so far, they do melt everything in their path. Pretty much doesn't matter which rats you shoot, doesn't matter if they're Amark or Minmatar or Galante or Caldari, it melts just everything. The weapons do kinetic and explosive damage, mostly, and that's pretty good for, I think, that's pretty decent for a majority of situations, since they already have high damage. Even with high resistances, they will go through the tanks without much of a problem. Especially since I've seen people use different builds, and most of these builds for the shores don't go above 2000 shield and around 500 and around 500 armor and hull, which is pretty. It is not much when you see how much damage this thing can deliver. At the moment, I don't know of any other ship with higher DPS in the game, since when I get my skills on a good level, this thing will melt everything in its path, and kind of scary to think about that. Well, this is I did find some tier 5 anomalies that are intact, and I did have no problems at taking out these cruisers. They did fall down really quickly. Of course, this ship is fast, and it is rather big, 233 meters, 83 signature radius, and you can get tracked by these rats. And of course, you can also tamper with the builds. If you're looking for a tank, you can go either a shield tank or a hull tank. Both will work. I think hull tank is a good option for this because it has so much hull. This thing can be really tanky with one build, right? Which is interesting. But in my case, I like to go full DPS, and in my case, it works. Full PvP build, full DPS. It will be really interesting to see how this thing will perform in a fleet. A 10 fleet of these things will melt everything. I think that's currently the most broken part of the game. If you encounter a fleet of 10 of these ships, just warp out. They will one shot you. All of them just need to fire once at you, and you're just gonna explode. Even if you're flying a cruiser, battle cruiser, or battleship, they will just melt you in seconds. And I think in the end, the developers will have a similar event to Kedama. I have no idea. I don't know what to expect about that. But near the end, I'll definitely fly this ship a lot more often. and I will fly this ship in PvP as well. Looking forward for fleets, by the way. I don't know if we will have any fleets now. I don't know what the developers have planned for the end of this open beta. But again, we will see. There is still plenty of time till the end. And so far, I have no problems at melting these rats. They are miniature rats. They have good tracking, and definitely if you're looking for PvE, a invulnerability field, a shield extender, and a battery, and of course a micro warp drive will do the job just fine. Since you want to have that tank, you can have that tank. It's not a big problem. A invulnerability field is dropped by these rats, and I think I have one. So I'll definitely temper and I'll definitely play around with these builds that I have an idea. So far, I do enjoy this game a lot. I think people do enjoy this game a lot. But one thing currently that is kind of annoying is everyone is flying this ship. And yeah, PvP at the moment is not advised to do because you'll probably stumble upon one of these. And they have short range, 17 kilometers. With rigs, you can probably make that 30 or plus. So this thing will definitely be lethal. And even if you shoot them from a distance, they are fast, they can approach you. And of course, you just don't engage with these things until they're nerfed if you're solo. If you're in a fleet, then you can try, but still, there is a high possibility that if you're in a fleet of 5, that before you kill this thing, that this thing will take out three of your fleet members because of its sheer brutal DPS. I have only the basic skills for this. I am skilling for the other skills. They should be done by the end of the day because of the free skill points that I have. So it will be really interesting to see how this thing will perform at 1000 DPS. It is just broken and crazy at at the moment. All right, let's see. Now I was in null sec a lot and I was in low sec a lot, and usually I have that reputation for a very long time, and people do chase me. So I have a problem in being chased. So I have to play a lot smarter now, and I have to pretty much warp out as soon as someone jumps in the local because of the high chances that they are looking after me, looking for me. But that's okay, it's part of the game. I'm not mad at that. Especially now since everyone is using these overpowered destroyers. And I think I have one of the only I have one of the only bombers in the game. I did make one. I was kind of lucky to get that thing. And I do have a bomber, and I was doing some really interesting stuff with that bomber. Definitely, it is really good to have a cloaking device, especially after being chased by a fleet of 10 people, which did happen to me earlier. I was camped in nullsec, so yeah. But thankfully, I was cloaked, and I just waited it out, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, I have a stealth bomber, and I will play that stealth bomber really soon. Looking forward for that actually, since that ship, I like it. It is a decent bomber. Okay, these are the Calderi rats. Yeah, they are. Okay, good. And so far, like I said, one thing though that you have to look forward and to be careful around this ship is its range. Its fall-off range is 17 kilometers, and above that, you will do 0 damage. So you have to be under the 17-kilometer range of these weapons to hit the enemies, because of the laser nature of these weapons, I think, and well, not a bad thing, but it's just something to note. You have to be within the range of the weapons. Even if you go 1 kilometer above the weapon's effective range, you will do 0 damage, and that's one thing to be aware of, because that's a really important thing if you're looking to do PvP, since the one who gets the first shot off usually will win, because they just do so much damage and they melt each other before you can even warp out. So that's one thing to note. And so far, this ship is at the moment the best ship for PvE, PvP, for fleets. It is the most powerful ship at the moment. and I do enjoy flying it actually. The one thing that I find really weird is the weapons. I cannot group them, but I guess it's part of the new faction. And in the future, I'm definitely looking forward to play the new destroyer, not the destroyer, but to play the new cruiser that the faction has to offer. I think they will give us that as well. I don't know when, but I think we will get that new cruiser as well. And it will be really interesting to see how that thing will perform. There is a high possibility that that cruiser will have 2000 DPS, and that ship will surpass the crazy DPS this ship has to offer. And for the cruiser, I think it will also have some unique modules to it, which I'm looking forward to test out and to play around with. Okay, so I did say do not engage this ship in combat because it is really like lethal. And back I did find one and I did something stupid. I did actually engage one of them with a stealth bomber. And I gotta say, I was really lucky to even stay alive in this because at this time I wasn't aware of how ridiculous overpowered this thing is. And well, just watch how tanky this is. Of course, it is a destroyer and I'm using medium faction torpedoes. That way, that's because I don't do that much damage. But once I realized how powerful this is, I decided to warp out because if he just shot me with one of his decomposers, I would pretty much lose my entire shield and it will reach even to 50 to 60% of my armor. So pretty much with a full salvo, or should I say with one cycle of his weapons, he can kill me. Just one cycle of all of his weapons can take me out. And yeah, that does need to be nerfed a lot. And of course they will do that. I'm looking forward for playing that ship, and also I'm looking forward to play this stealth bomber. This bomber has good DPS. I do enjoy it, and at the moment it is one of the. I think I'm currently the only person with a stealth bomber. I'm not quite sure, but there aren't many of them out there. I know just for me. I don't know for anyone else who has a stealth bomber currently in this game. Well, the anomaly is gone. I did think about returning and shooting it again, but he is not there, so I guess I will take that as a lucky escape. Because if he were there, if he wasn't AFK, he could have just melted my bomber in one cycle with his weapons, which is which is really interesting. Well, I think that was it for this ship. A really powerful ship, a really interesting ship. Everyone did get the ship for free in the open beta, by the way. You can claim it, and you can pretty much fly it. It is a really fun to fly ship. It is really overpowered. Its weapons are just insane. You can make it be over 1000. You can make it do over 1000 DPS, which is crazy. And well, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Fly safe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.